even then, I feel like because the advisory role, the consigliere of the family is not BJ.
No.
At this point, no, it's Connie.
Yeah.
And she is far more like her father than Michael is.
Which is really ironic, considering, I mean, Connie in the first film and the first half of the second in her storyline, I mean, she's just just completely removed from the sphere, because I mean, well, Michael kills her husband in the first. I mean, not unrightly so in his eyes, but she.
In the second one, she's flaky.
Yeah, well, she's flaky at the beginning. She's jetting around with men who don't care about her and such, just to hurt Michael. But of course, she comes in a way. She comes around. I forget what necessarily stirs that, but
following mother's death, following.
Well, she's that way at the mother's death because she asks Fredo. She begs for an audience between Michael and Fredo, but I forget what exactly.
She turns right around Fredo's demise.
Yeah, I did love that scene between them though, when Michael's talking to her about his confession, and she bends down and she says, Fredo's death was an accident, but then she leans into his arms and just starts crying, and I think, oh God, she knows too.
Of course she knows.
They all know, but she's willing to write it off because of, I get, love, but also duty in a way.
Perhaps, because perhaps, I mean, she understands. Unlike Kay, she understands. Michael's role.
She is an Italian wife, and she's a Corleone wife, as one could say.
Oh, she understands Michael's role. Unlike why Kay left, Kay did not come to the full realization of why Michael was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
She's figured that out by the end of the second film. Connie understands his role.
Yeah, she understands the sacrifice.
And I feel like by the third one, which the problem is she returns in the end of the second one. By the end of the second one, she's once again back in the family circle.
Mm-hmm.
But the third one, I feel, and I actually like her character in the third one, but there's no setup for how she is the way she is. Yes. She just all of a sudden is this ruthless.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, well, she's the one who okays the hit on Tony Sasa.
And she's the one willing to kill her godfather off. She's the one. I mean,
she's the one who goads Vincent in a way to stepping up. And you're the only one with my father's strength. Michael has become her charge in a way. She's his nurse. In a way, like you're the only one who's the clear successor.
In this film, if you look at true villains, horrible characters. I mean, just ruthless people.
Ruthless people.
From film.
Yeah.
When you look in this film, both Vincent and Zaza, Zaza is just a bag of hot air. Like they say, he doesn't have the mind behind it.
Yeah.
Vincent, in the beginning, he's just brash. He's a thug.
He's a tool.
Yes. He's quick to react. This film has, the villains come in two individuals. Well, three if you count Lucchese, but he's a secondary. He's not really imperative to the main characters.
No.
You've got Altabella and you've got Connie. Altabella's not as well developed. Connie, we know who Connie is. There's no need to introduce her.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do see her arrive in this role, she's playing Michael's, so to speak, significant other.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's filled the role, and she's become more a godfather than he has, at least in the decisions. She seems to be more tied in with the family business than he is. Meanwhile, he's trying to legitimize the family business. Connie's the tie to the old
ways,
yes,
the old world.
Tradition.
I mean, in the first few scenes with Connie, I've never been that. Like, I mean, she always kind of has the shawl on, has her arms against it, just kind of craning over, like, Michael, you should do this, and that's like, oh God, really? And of course,
she's the hostess.
She's the hostess in a way, but she's kind of this little crow who's kind of screeching at Michael.
But she lives with him.
She as only a sister can, I guess, in some ways. But
let's not get into the whole contrived romance between them. Which, again, as I said earlier, I'm pretty sure it's even in 1979 illegal in at least 48 states.
Oh God. Yeah. And also in terms of, well, this reminds me of of what I didn't necessarily like about Kay is when we were watching the film, whenever Kay takes a dig at Michael, you just kind of turn your hand like she's twisting the knife just a little more.
Exactly. She's gonna do a little more.
I kind of felt bad in that sense for Diane Keaton. I think the only real time when she has any maneuverability with that character is when they're at the table together in Sicily.
Well, that's her best.
And her voice kind of cracks, like, I don't know what you want from me, and she, like the walls come down. But
that's when I feel we see Kay, like we see the Kay we know from the first two films.
Yeah, I agree.
That is her best scene.
I agree, and
undoubtedly.
But all the other times, she's just a sad sack, and in honesty,
she's a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
And I like, as we were talking about the scenes, I like that scene in the courtyard for
the last one.
For the scene.
The Thomasina.
Where they're all together. Yeah. I love that scene for the role Michael has in it, his vulnerability. Mm-hmm. These people around him who Vincent's obviously ready to take over at that point. You've got his lawyer who his best interest is the family finances, not the family.
Yeah.
And then you got Thomasino, who is really he's the equivalent, which is, to be fair, that's probably the only role Tom would have played. Tom would not have been ruthless like Connie.
Yeah.
Tom would
have given some measure of restraint.
Well, you would have had, I feel like Hamilton's role has nothing to do with morality or immorality. His role is solely there for finances. Exactly. He's
cardboard cutout.
The only plus side to Hamilton's role is he is not as tan as he is in commercials and in other roles. He did
have an orange glow, didn't he?
Not so much in this film. I think he kind of pulled back on the strings. It's a Godfather film. He'll be a little better. But Tom's role would have been the good angel on his right shoulder to Connie's evil.
That would have been an interesting dynamic to see. It's too bad that they couldn't bring themselves.
Which is why let's not dwell on it for too long.
Pay Robert Duvall, but yeah.
If you think about that, then yes, that would have been the ultimate. It's point of this film.
I think if they had simplified the story, if they had cut out the entire banking story, if they had made it simply the dynamic of Michael dealing with issues of the past and that continue to haunt him, and his dynamic between himself and Vincent, I think, and then with his family members. Of course, you need a conflict, and you can develop one, but I think that central story is the one they should have stuck with the film. It would have made it a much more linear, much stronger, and a very comparable piece with the first two, because, like you said, in the first two, it's all about the linear paths of Michael, father and son, Michael and Vito, and Vincent is the gangster son of Michael in a way. Although he's Sonny's boy, he's still,
well, to be fair,
his father figure in the film is Michael.
And let's not forget here, Sonny is the first. Sonny was supposed to be the Godfather, but he got himself killed because he was brash. Yeah. Vincent needs Michael.
Yeah.
In order to finally take over the role that he ultimately should have had.
Yeah.
And they get rid of Tony very quickly in the beginning of the party by, you're not going to be a lawyer.
This isn't the one.
You're going to go sing. Yeah. Go ahead. You're going to set up the climax at the end of the film for us because you're giving us a reason to be there. Which comes back to my other.
You had another favorite scene?
It's more of a sequence. It's the sequence.
Yeah.
The opera sequence. And I feel that there are parts in the sequence that are very weak. And if you're comparing it to the first film, you can obviously see where the comparison is.
What I would call
the baptism scene.
The baptism scene, the hit list scene, where they're
the baptism sequence. That is what the opera is comparing itself. That is what they're obviously what it's an ode to.
Yeah.
And if you compare it to the first one, it does not necessarily measure up as strongly.
Yes.
Obviously, the sheer.
They're killing people we don't care about.
Right, and the first one, the audacity of him being in the church, just adds to it. In this one, it's a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
The music, I think, is a lot more upturned. The music, I think, is a little more. Everything's a little more melodramatic.
I do like the ending of this film.
But I love the sequence.
Yeah.
I love that sequence. I feel there are some minor problems. For example, give me a break. Like the assassin is that good. You've got all the places swarming with, of course, inept it seems bodyguards.
This has been a VS1 production.